$62 billion. That is what Y2K fashion is worth right now in 2025, and nobody who lived through the original era can quite believe it is happening again. This is not a niche internet micro-trend anymore. The hashtag alone has over 12 billion views on TikTok, and Gen Z is spending real money to dress like the early 2000s never ended. Fashion runs on a 20-year cycle. Researchers analyzed 150 years of hemlines and waistlines and found that trends return right on schedule because every generation craves styles just different enough to feel fresh. Picture the era: low-rise jeans slung on hip bones, baby tees cropped to show a sliver of midriff, velour tracksuits in candy colors, butterfly clips scattered through chunky highlights, and enough rhinestones to blind everyone in the room. Pop stars turned these clothes into status symbols: denim on denim at award shows, velour tracksuits as airport armor, and tinted sunglasses so tiny they could barely block anything, and the world copied every single look. Then it all vanished. The 2010s fell in love with skinny jeans and minimalist beige everything, and the butterfly clip became a punchline, a relic of bad MySpace photos that nobody wanted to revisit ever again. But in 2020, everything changed. TikTok downloads hit 318 million in a single quarter during lockdown, and a generation stuck at home started scrolling through old celebrity photos and thinking, actually, these looks are incredible. Thrifting made it possible. Vintage Y2K pieces cost almost nothing and felt more authentic than anything new, so Gen Z walked into thrift stores and walked out looking like they time-traveled from a 2003 shopping mall. The numbers are staggering. The global Y2K fashion market sits at $62.4 billion in 2025, projected to crack $106 billion by 2034, growing at over 7% every single year. 73% of Gen Z shoppers actively buy Y2K pieces, and the average Gen Z consumer devotes nearly a fifth of their entire fashion budget to early 2000s inspired looks. This is their uniform, not a costume. Psychologists call it an emotional anchor. Gen Z faces non-stop digital overload and economic uncertainty, so they reach for the aesthetics of a time that felt simpler and more optimistic, even if they never actually lived through it. 83% of Gen Z says they have an unhealthy relationship with their phone, so they buy flip phones and digital cameras and butterfly clips and treat the early 2000s as an antidote to the surveillance era they actually grew up in. The brands noticed. Birkenstock revenue jumped 16%, Coach gained 2.2 million new customers, and 35% of them were Gen Z, and brands that seemed dead and buried are now the faces of spring-summer campaign. Here is the twist. Gen Z is not being nostalgic for an era they remember, because they never lived it. They are using Y2K fashion as a rebellion against minimalism, against algorithmic sameness, against a world where every mistake lives online forever. They call themselves curators, not copycats. They take one or two Y2K pieces and mix them with modern staples, turning low-rise jeans and baby tees into something that reads as style rather than a Halloween costume from 2003. Analysts say this is not a passing fad. The market is projected to grow at over 7% annually through 2034, and the integration with sustainability and vintage culture means Y2K is becoming a permanent layer of modern fashion. So the butterfly clip went from one forgotten accessory to a tiny piece of plastic, boulder, and dollar symbol. $62 billion and counting, and if you check your closet right now, you might already be part of it, whether you meant to be or not.